Blue Origin Flight NS-23 suffered a catastrophic failure during launch. No one was on board, and if they were, they probably wouldn't have been hurt anyway. The alert system worked as intended. This is not a slam against Blue Origin. But what went wrong? Unfortunately, we don't know yet. It appears their parts are not currently available. Unfortunately, Blue Origin is also pretty hard to find information on as far as design goes, so a lot of best guesses about their engine may just be plain wrong. This is not intended to in any way denigrate Blue Origin. This is to educate and hopefully entertain as best as possible from limited information, and in fact demonstrate what is possible with limited information. What we do know is that the bottom of the rocket, where the engine is, started spraying a very dramatic flame and began to tip over. This somehow triggered the launch abort system, carrying the capsule safely away. We also know some basic things about the engine. It's a liquid bipropellant, meaning that it has a separate fuel and an oxidizer, both of which are liquids in their tank. We know those are liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, and we know that it's a tap-off cycle engine. What that means has to do with how the fuel and the oxidizer are pumped into the engine. The burning of the fuel and the oxidizer produces a very high pressure exhaust. Most of this is sprayed out the back to push the rocket forward, like all rocket engines. But a little bit is pulled out of the chamber into a pipe which flows into a turbine. This spins the turbine, which then spins the pumps, which push the fuel and the oxidizer down into the engine. The combination turbine, pump, and associated machinery is referred to as the turbopump. This is where speculation comes in, because actual schematics aren't available. It appears that the BE-3 actually has two separate turbines, each running their own pump, instead of a combined turbine that runs two pumps. This means hot exhaust gases flow into these two structures independently. If we look at the footage, we can see a trail of dark material and some flashes, then an intense orange flame to the side of the engine. The two turbopumps are structures positioned where the flame appears to come from. Recall that the propellant mix is oxygen and hydrogen. This combination produces a very faint blue flame, very different from the orange one we saw. Whatever is burning isn't hydrogen. Engine parts, however, might burn that color if they start to disintegrate in a hot, high oxygen environment. This environment shouldn't exist in the engine, which is why hydrogen and oxygen engines run fuel-rich, meaning they have too much hydrogen and too little oxygen. This ensures nowhere in the engine exists hot oxygen. However, with the only fuel not able to reduce that color, and the only oxygen source a stream of liquid oxygen, it seems the best explanation is that the engine parts exposed to pure oxygen have somehow ignited. The oxidizer pump is a delicate machine running pure oxygen that could be positioned right where we see the fire. It's likely this component began burning, and what we are seeing is the disintegration of the turbopump assembly as the oxygen burns the machine itself. But how could this have happened? This requires some further speculation. I will remind the listener that there is a chance this is incorrect and that I missed a detail that simply wasn't available. We can learn from it anyway. I believe the answer lies in those flashes we see from the engine bell. These generally indicate a piece of debris was disintegrated and heated to the point of blowing in the engine. An unbalanced pump might wobble beyond its tolerances and scrape something. This could peel off some material, throwing it downstream, causing damage to the injectors, which themselves throw material into the combustion, which visibly glow from the intense heat. This malfunctioning pump either eventually heats up enough to ignite in its own right, or scrapes deep enough to cause a spark, igniting it. Maybe instead the problem originated in the chamber itself, somehow resulting in debris exiting the engine, but also traveling into the tap-off and causing catastrophic failure of the turbopump. Maybe the seals that separate the exhaust from the oxygen have failed, both throwing seal pieces down the plumbing and accounting for the flashes, as well as igniting the oxygen stream. The oxygen might have pushed into the turbine exhaust, burning both it and the exhaust piping attempting to contain it. In any event, it's likely what we are seeing is the oxygen pump failing, igniting, and burning like kindling in its own oxygen stream. If some of these terms flew over your head, that's alright. I'll be making videos at a later date to go over a lot of these concepts in greater, more broken down detail for people that are completely unfamiliar with them. I will also be making a video once official reports are available detailing what I got right and what I got wrong, as well as what can be learned from it. Subscribing would both help the channel a tremendous amount and would ensure that you don't miss those once they become available. Thank you.